I was a lifelong Chatham resident, born in Chatham, and lived on Main Street. For 10 years, my father had a bad back and was hospitalized, so we weren't very financially stable. So as I grew up and graduated from high school, I decided to go into the service because my family could not afford to send me to college. So I decided to go in, and I had an uncle who was a Marine during World War II, and I respected him totally. So that's why I joined the Marine Corps and hoped to get a trade or an experience for work. In 1956, I joined the Marine Corps and went out of New York on a train going to the beautiful place of Paris Island, South Carolina for boot camp. And it took us 2 days by train to get there. It was amazing. And it was a group of other fellow recruits who I did not know, but we bonded very quickly, being all in the same situation. And arrived at Paris Island and went through boot camp at Paris Island for 13 weeks. And it was the hardest training I've ever had in my life. And it was strictly for discipline and loyalty and patriotic reasons. And it transformed everybody into a civilian to a military person who took orders.
Was there anything in the mid 50s internationally that influenced your decision to serve in the military?
Yes, it was right after the Korean War, and I decided to join, and I knew how tough a situation they had, and I wanted to go and help. My first duty assignment was at Camp Lejeune, and I was in Amtrak's, and that's landing vehicles that are like tanks, and I don't know how that couple tons of stuff floated in the water. And I was the first time we went in, I thought we would go all the way under. It was really a interesting thing in the beginning, but I was there for I think probably almost 6 months. And then I was shipped to Panama, and we went there on quote unquote maneuvers. But then when we got there, we found out there was a Russian ship in the harbor that would not fly our flag to go through the Panama Canal. And as soon as they hit our waters, we boarded the ship and took over the whole ship. So my first experience with a machine gun, and tell the captain telling me if anybody sticks their heads up, shoot them. So it was my first as a 19-year-old, and I'm saying to myself, please don't put your head up. But it was interesting, my first real assignment.
What were some things that you learned about yourself as you were learning aspects of discipline and in having to work as a team? Tell me about the challenges that you found and faced and what that all meant to you.
It was interesting because we were put together with guys from all over the country, basically, all different divisions, all kind of divisions, and I was surprised how well we did get along. Although we did have a few conflicts of interest, so forth, from the southern boys to the northern boys, that type of thing. But pretty soon I went right out the window when we went to actual combat training, and knowing that you had to stay and help the guys, you're somebody's back, and they're your back. And it was really interesting in how we got along so well so quick. I Semper Fi, meaning always faithful. And that is the core of the Marine Corps. And it means that you will never, ever leave your combat buddy, combat or any time without helping. It's a concept of the Marine Corps, I think, right from the beginning, and drilled into you mercifully. My next assignment was San Diego, California, and I was only there for a couple of weeks, and we were shipped off to the Far East. And we stopped in Hawaii, and then we went to Okinawa. And I was in Okinawa for almost a year, And from Okinawa, I was on a ship that was circulating. And so all we did is go somewhere where there was trouble. We went to New Guinea. We went to, I don't know how many different places. But we always stayed offshore in case we were needed and then we're shipped in. So I was aboard ship for 3.5 months. And it's 1,000 guys in the ship. It was difficult living, but we got along well and it was very interesting and seeing that part of the country and how the people live was really eye-opening. I was sent to radio school because supposedly I had a very good IQ. So I went to radio school and learned Morse code and radio operations, and that took about 6 weeks, I think it was something like that. And it was so hard not to be able to type. I had Morse code came over, did not do. You had to know it's a T, then you had to find a T and type it. So it was very difficult in the beginning, and it took quite a while just to get used to that. But that was one of my main jobs in the Marine Corps, and I was in there, and from there, when I went overseas, I went to a motor transport company. So that therefore I was uh, headed as a corporal, according to a corporal, I was head of the division of the communications division in this motor transport battalion. So we led convoys back and forth and radio for help and food and everything else. So it was really interesting. At least I wasn't a grunt. We didn't do much walking. I did a lot of ride. Well, as a corporal, I was in charge of the communications department of this motor transport battalion because there was only 6 of us in this group, and we took care of the radios. We took care of the jeeps, the radio jeeps, which was interesting, and therefore I was promoted up to corporal to be in charge of this unit. When we were in Okinawa, we were sent to the Philippines because there was a problem there, and to Subic Bay. And we went to a slop shoot, which we called the beer hall. It was a slop shoot, we called it. And there was Vinny English, who I graduated from grammar school with, and 2 other guys from Chatham. And we just looking at each other. We never knew we were there. So we spent, I guess, almost the whole night and going over stuff. But it was very interesting just to bump into people like that you knew from grade school, just about. Well, it was an interesting aspect for that time. And uh, actually, it was in the middle of February, I think it was, and it was 100 degrees because it was like the equator. And we worked it from it was like 5 in the morning till 11 in the morning. And then after that, you had to get in the shade. It was just too hot to work. But that was an interesting assignment. Oh, it was on a Navy base, so that was interesting too. For the first time I was stationed at a Navy base, and there was a couple little conflicts, but nothing really serious. I've had 3 uncles who were in the service, a Marine and 2 armies. And like I said before, my uncle Norman was a Marine, and I respected him so much, and that's one of the reasons why I joined. And I had brothers, cousins. I can't tell you how many of the commons served in the military, but it was quite a few. And I was shipped from Okinawa by boat to San Francisco again, and that took 11 days, I guess, something like that, to get to San Francisco. And then from there, it was right before Christmas. Another thing that got in on December 21st or 2nd, I think it was. We wanted to get home for Christmas. And American Airlines was on strike at that time. So we chartered a plane. And this plane was a DC 3. If you know a DC 3, that's right. And the pilot comes down, and he had to be, I thought he was 90 years old, but at least he was, had a cane. And it was a heck of an experience. But we charged, we had, it was about 110 of us from the New York area, and we charged this plane. I think it only cost us like $200, something like that, to charter it. But anyway, it did not have a pressurized cabin. So we had to fly through the Rockies, not over. We followed the highway through the Rockies. I'm saying to myself, don't crash in the mountains, crash in the desert, don't crash in the mountains. But we landed twice for fuel, once in Arizona, and then in Chicago we landed, and there was a snowstorm starting. They kept so we got 1 hour to take off, but we're stuck for forever here. So they were fueling the plane, and we got out. We were running around. We were back in again, and we took off again. But we made it back to Newark for Christmas. So that was the experience, to say the least. You know, it was interesting. Home in the 21st, and then when the Brooklyn Navy Yard get discharged. And so from there, I went back home, and from my experience with the Motor Transport Battalion and doing the work and everything for them, I became a mechanic. But that was my lifelong thing. And then I joined the fire department. And I always said I would never get another uniform when I got out of service. Well, 1 month later, I'm in the uniform of a fireman. so that started me in 1959. Uh, about 3 weeks after I got out of the service, I joined the fire department because my father was a fireman, my brother was a fireman. I had three cousins that were firemen, so it was in the family, and that was a big decision.
What did you take away from your military experiences and responsibilities that you discovered, Jack, helped you be successful in that role, important role in the fire department?
So the biggest thing was the discipline, and also I would help train the firemen how to march in parade. I mean, half of them don't have left foot and the right foot, so that was very interesting. And we won quite a few trophies in my first couple of years in the fire department. For parades, we used to go to 3 or 4 parades, 5 parades a year, and we brought home trophies every parade. We brought home trophies, so that was the interesting part. Uh, and I became deputy chief in '71, and in 1973 I was chairman of the town in the fire department's 75th anniversary. So I ran that, that took quite a bit out of me. And became fire chief in 1978 to 1983. I had promised my wife I would do it for 5 years. That was part of the reconciliation to become chief. And and so I got out at 83, and after that I've served on almost every committee the fire department has. But it was a discipline, I think, in the Marine Corps that taught me uh, for fire scenes and so forth, how to operate. Well, in 1948, I marched in the fire department's 50th anniversary parade as a 12-year-old Boy Scout. And I carried a sign that said Green Village Fire Department, who marched behind me, so that the townspeople know who it was. That was my first experience. And then the 75th anniversary, I was in charge of the celebration and the town celebration for the department, and I received a plaque from the town thanking me for that. I rode in the 100th parade as on the fire truck, and I hope to do the 125th parade, training people for fire departments and drills and so forth. And being in the service, I learned the discipline of organization and stepping down in rank, and I felt that it really helped me to train our firemen when I was a deputy chief and a chief. And It really helped me to understand what was going through their minds as when I was young. So that really helped me. And it's very hard to train somebody to run into a burning building when everybody else is running out. But we do it. And we do it because we're trained to do it, and also because we are safety conscious as to having the right gear on and so forth to protect ourselves. So it really helped me in the training of our young people. Well, every Memorial Day, I go to the fifth grade school in Lafayette Avenue School, and I talk to the fifth graders about military service and what I went through, and the questions they ask are for youngsters are actually incredible. Where did you sleep? How did you go to the bathroom? How did you do? What did you eat? But the first thing the boys ask is, who did you shoot? That's the first question. And the first question the girls ask is, where did you sleep? So it was, but just to see their faces and their interest in giving this talk to them every year is very rewarding. And I also kindergarten fire prevention stuff for fire department toward fire prevention week, and that's very rewarding because they are really it's just that they get so excited. You're walking with all your gear on and everything, and you try to teach them that if there's a fire, these fire are going to come in. They're going to look like monsters, but they're your friends. Do not be afraid of them. And our biggest concern is do not hide because we have to take people from under beds and so forth. They should hide from you. So it's trying to get them to be relaxed in front of you, and it really works.
Is there anything about your totality of service for those 3 years during that time in our history you specifically remember that you would like to bring out in this history statement that we haven't already covered?
I think my biggest awakening was the poverty of other countries. To go in and see the poverty that was coming from Chatham in a well-off town, and seeing this was like as a 19-year-old opened my eyes as to how the other Christian world actually survives by day. That to me, I was it was hard to comprehend, but actually seeing it and having little kids would look to you for a piece of chocolate or something, it moved me actually to tears a few times. If you join the Marine Corps, you will learn discipline, loyalty, so forth. But the biggest thing is your comradeship between your friends in the Marine Corps. It's something that is life bonding, and I've communicated for years with guys that I have served with, and it's a feeling you just it's hard to describe, but it's a great feeling, and you would thoroughly enjoy it.